Let's finally talk about High Guardian Spice. I have a fascination with the show.
Oh no! Is the dragon dead?
I'm okay. Bye, take care.
Sage, is that how stars are made? Huh? Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not just because it's bad either. I'm fascinated with the show because of how bad it is. How it fails at almost every single thing that it attempts. It's kind of a rarity to see a show fail on so many fronts. This was going to be my grand 200th animated atrocity, if you recall. I was just going to make one video where I talked about the entire show and hit every single problem within it. And I say this with no exaggeration. The script had grown to the point where it was over 2 hours long. And even then, I felt like I was only scratching the surface. This was with neglecting some of the more egregious plot holes in the narrative, truncating how botched a lot of the show's messaging was, and only really touching on some of the worse extra characters. Because I didn't want to make a movie, and I didn't want to release an episode 200 I wasn't absolutely satisfied with, I decided to pick something else. Something at the very least less tedious to review.
I'm on a mission from above.
Are you the baby Jesus?
Yes, I'm the baby Jesus.
Of course, when you announce something this grand, people do get curious. And a lot of people have been asking me about my opinions on the series. And if nothing else, High Guardian Spice is a show that I do like to talk about. And it's one that I want to talk about. Its mere existence baffles me. And every decision along the way I can only barely wrap my head around. Ever since Crunchyroll announced the series back in 2018 as one of their first originals. That alone was the first domino in a long string of controversy. You see, High Guardian Spice wasn't Crunchyroll's only original that they were planning on airing at the time. There are about a dozen that have aired before High Guardian Spice, and since. And before we talk about High Guardian Spice proper, we do need to talk about the kind of sell that Crunchyroll was trying to make. Crunchyroll is an anime streaming platform, which is a service that's hard to sustain these days. I won't point you in their direction, but almost everyone watching this knows at least one website that will allow you to watch any anime you want, any dub or sub you want, and the only thing they ask you to do is watch their virus-laden pornographic ads. Anime is one of the easiest things to pirate at the moment. Easier than music, and even easier than Western cartoons. So platforms like Crunchyroll, and by and large the anime community, have a plea. Animators in Japan are overworked and underpaid, and they do their craft for little to no respect. Pirating their work makes things even harder, even if the actual on-the-ground animators don't get royalties for what they do. Why is this important? Because when a platform like Crunchyroll has nothing to offer but support going to starving artists, it comes across as a slap in the face when they decide to instead use this money on quote-unquote domestic anime. Not helping matters is that the Crunchyroll player is notoriously hard to work with, and desperately needs improvement to this day. Case in point, when High Guardian Spice first debuted on Crunchyroll, it had audio issues that wasn't the fault of the show at all. All of this to say that Crunchyroll could have announced the greatest anime concept in history, and there would still be backlash to begin with. I don't think that the business side realized that, because if they did, they may have worked a little bit harder on that trailer. I did a reaction to the High Guardian Spice trailer back in 2018, if you want my full thoughts, but to summarize, in a world where animation trailers are universally bad, this one went above and beyond. The only thing in High Guardian Spice that went above and beyond.
There's an authenticity to it, and a sincerity.
To give you an idea of what we're dealing with, the trailer didn't even mention the names of the main characters, Rosemary, Sage, Thyme, and Parsley. In addition, it doesn't explain the show at all.
High Guardian Spice is about 4 girls who live in a magical city and are going to school to become guardians.
What's a guardian? Guardians of what? People? The trees? Endor? I don't know because they never mention it. The trailer made a huge deal about this being a 2D animated project.
One of the things that really attracted me to the position was the opportunity to do traditional hand-drawn 2D animation.
Beyond that, it was super vague about what we were actually getting.
It's funny, and it's warm, and it's adventurous.
These words don't mean anything. What is a warm show? Are we talking a warm, comforting feeling like Harvey Beaks? Heavy use of warm colors? Or does the show take place on the sun? Adventurous? Like Adventure Time? Like Johnny Quest? Or even the Problem Solvers, I could call that quote-unquote adventurous. Instead of talking about the show, they were much more interested in talking about
We are 50% female in all the creative roles, and our writer's room is 100% female.
You can't really talk about High Guardian Spice without this particular elephant in the room coming up. Either intentionally or accidentally, the trailer marketed High Guardian Spice on diversity and inclusion, to the exclusion of literally anything else, which more or less set up High Guardian Spice to fail. It turned it from this experiment that was not likely to work to begin with, to this lightning rod of hatred. And on top of everything, Crunchyroll pushed back the airing from early 2019 to late 2021, probably hoping that whatever backlash they had propped up had vanished by then, which is a gamble that failed. High Guardian Spice is still one of the most infamously hated cartoons of all time. It has an IMDb rating of 1.5 out of 10, 1.6 out of 5 on Crunchyroll's website, 12% on Google, and was most likely cancelled after a single season of 12 episodes. The show is criticized for everything: excessive animation errors to unlikable characters, and ironically, its takes on diversity and inclusion. The show is actually pretty bad from a progressive point of view. From characters who are little more than tokens or talking points, to what can legitimately be called queerbaiting. Yes, in High Guardian Spice. In the end, what we have here is a show that only has value in its dissection, and that's what we're going to do. It's been a while, but I think I'm ready for a series like this. We're going to go through High Guardian Spice, and I am going to pick apart every single episode and critique literally every flaw that I can find.
I vow to protect ghosts and grogs, and also people, but first ghosts.
The only thing that I'm not going to be touching on is the animation errors, because quite honestly, they're far too abundant, and they'll destroy the flow of any points that I'm making. There are plenty of other videos on YouTube that point out every single individual animation error. Even throughout episode 1, characters have these absolutely wonderful expressions. Characters constantly teleport in between shots. And of course, JPEGs. Also, this one even has a watermark on it. I could go on and on. There are hundreds of animation errors, and even more artistic errors. And it would probably be 6 hours alone just to cover all of those. Personally, I'm much more interested in the writing, the world building, the characters, just about everything else. And I think we can actually get a lot of value by taking a look at what exactly the show did wrong. I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to poke some fun along the way, but my value is in criticism. So let's go. This is every episode of High Guardian Spice reviewed.